Got a little peni. Like it?
Trying to kill this fucking moth before he eats my clothes. Can't find it though.
It'd be funny if like a Mothra comes up.
Dude, there was a fucking moth about this big on my bedside table the other day.
Gross.
Thought it was a roach until it unfurled its massive wings.
You see the little like fuzzy hairs and shit on it?
Yeah, it was gross.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty.
I'm not as disgusted by insects as I used to be though. I remember I was horribly disgusted by worms as a kid.
Oh yeah.
So one day I'm eating, right?
A worm?
No worm. I'm eating fucking breakfast or some garbage, and old granny comes in from her garden because she used to tend garden a lot, and she comes in with the fattest green worm you could ever imagine.
Oh yeah, I know exactly
like
what kind
a
of worm.
fat, segmented green worm with jelly filling down the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen those.
I don't know about that.
And red legs.
Yeah. They got kind of like pincers in the front.
No, it was no pincers. It was literally just like a hollowed jelly-filled middle with like these sections. And she puts it in front of my face and she goes, in Spanish, "Look, son." And I'm like, dude, I vomited on my plate. I like straight up projectile vomited on that bitch. Not grandma, the plate.
Yeah.
Plate was a bitch. That was kind of bitchy of her too, I gotta admit. She knew I hated worms. Who
shoves worms in someone's face?
I remember one time she used to, like I said, she used to tend garden. And she had all these mini apple trees. I don't know what they're actually called.
Mini apples.
Minneapolis.
I think they're probably berries, but let's go along.
No, they were little tiny apples.
Yeah.
I just don't know what they're. Are those crab apples? I don't know what the fuck these little apples are.
They're pretty great though. We used to snack on them, little babies.
Yeah, they're tiny little fucking apples, about the size of my testes. And anyway, next to those tiny little apples, which we would always nosh on, there was some green apple tree that she had. So I decide, fuck it, I don't like green apples, but I decide I'm going to have a little green apple today. And by decide, I mean at her behest.
Yeah.
She's like, here, have this green apple instead of these delicious tiny apples. And I'm like, all right. Because those tiny apples, let me tell you, those tiny apples were wrinkly. They were still good.
Yeah, they were. They were actually better when they were wrinkly.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll take this green apple. And I go, these are small size, not tiny like the other apples, but you could palm them as a kid. And I bit half that bastard off, and there's half a worm in it.
Oh no!
And I'm like, come on, man, what is this? Some sort of conspiracy?
Maybe she was trolling your ass.
Fucking worms, man. Anyway.
I remember when we saw Godzilla. I don't know why I said I remember, but when we saw Godzilla, the '98 version, I kind of wanted to do that.
Eat a worm?
No, put the little like things on the ground and have the worms come up.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty rad.
That was an unfortunate viewing experience. But if we took one thing away from it is, if you electrocute the ground during a storm, worms will come out.
I guess.
They better, because otherwise, what the fuck?
Remember one time I was out there when it rained. And there was this massive... It kind of looked like a silkworm. You know how silkworms are huge and they got those tapering ends? It was like that big. Freaking fat-ass white worm.
Hold on. This is not a worm. This is like a fucking...
It was a worm.
Fetus. It was this thick?
Yeah, it was like that
You're telling me it's this thick.
It was that... No, it was this thick. It was like that long. And it had tiny little...
Hold up. You're saying it's this thick?
No, this thick.
I'm literally doing the same thing as you.
Oh, wait. Not that thick. I'm saying this is the length of the worm. It was about that thick. Maybe a little bigger, like that big.
That's like a fucking Amazonian rainforest
and I'm
worm.
talking that's like the middle. It tapered towards the ends. But the middle was pretty big. A white worm. Looked like a silkworm, but huge. And it had little pincers in the front. And tiny little legs on each end. So maybe it wasn't a worm, but it looked like a worm. Like worms don't have legs. Unless they weren't legs. I don't know what the hell they were. Anyway, it was there walking around and shit. Like, I was like, oh, sick. And I went in to tell Grandma. And I guess I got distracted by some freaking chow or something. Because I forgot about it. I went back outside. The worm had died. And it had spread open. And there was these maggots inside of it.
No, baby worms probably.
Maybe. They were disgusting though. Is all I know. I was like, oh, this baby like freaking split open and now there's inside there's worms in there?
Here's another grandma meets worms tale. When she
was... Oh, no, I know. The bucket?
Oh, we'll get to that one. When she was raising our older brother, because our grandma adopted our mom, and there's 3 of us brothers. So she kind of was the de facto parent because mom would always be at work. And anyway, when she was raising my older brother, and there's a 10-year difference between all of us. When she was raising him, and I wasn't yet alive, she also was kind of on occasion raising my stepbrother, which you never met, and is dead now, so that's a thing. But anyway,
collecting worms.
She was kind of, sort of, sometimes raising him too, and he used to shit his pants on purpose all the time. And by on purpose, I mean he refused to stop watching TV and would just shit himself.
Oh.
And she'd be, understandably, she'd be like, "What the fuck, you lazy shit? Get up and go fucking take a turd, wipe the whole ordeal.
At least have the decency to try to hold it and then go take a turd after your little show's done. That's horrible, but it's better than shitting your pants."
Here's the thing about him, or about her. It wasn't really the fact she was concerned for his health. It was more the fact that she had to wash his dirty underwear, which was caked with feces. Anyway, so she was like, "Dude, can you please fucking take a shit in the designated shit-taking area?"
Yeah.
And he refused to do that. Mind you, this is like a kid around like 6, 7, 8 years old. Still disgusting, mind you, but anyway. So her solution was to scare the fuck out of him. So she started lacing his little brain with the idea that if he didn't wipe his ass, it would turn to worms. Which theoretically could happen, by the way. But anyway, the point is, she kept on telling him this shit, and he was like, whatever, she's going to wash my shit anyway, so fuck it. So she, I guess, got tired of it, and she went out and found the ugliest, thickest worm she could find in her garden, which apparently is just a home for worms.
Yeah, it is.
And she, in the middle of the night, put him in his fucking underwear. And then he woke up terrified that there was these worms, and she was like, "Told you, your nasty ass is now producing worms." And apparently that fixed the whole issue.
All right.
That's how Mexicans solve problems.
Pretty much. Put people in danger. It tends to work.
Speaking of problems, old grandma used to have a bunch of chickens.
I thought this is what we were going to talk about.
And the neighbor, who has a bunch of, what are they called? The hares.
Yeah, rabbits.
Rabbits, not hairy. He's not just a fucking Wookiee.
He's not a fuzzy man.
Yeah. Well, maybe he is somewhere. By that I mean the penis. But anyway, not his nuts, but the penis.
The shaft only.
But anyway, he had a bunch of old bunnies there, and he'd have a bunch of leftover food. So she's like, "Hey, why don't you... Look, these are Mexicans.
Yeah.
We're Mexican. He's Mexican. We're not talking bunny food made for bunnies. We're not talking grass. We're not even talking clippings.
Talking like this morning's freaking eggs.
Yeah, we're talking leftovers, basically.
Bunnies will eat that shit, probably.
Yeah. So he would on occasion bring a bucket of these leftovers and shit, and grandma would pepper them all over the chicken feeding area, and the chickens would peck away that shit all day. Well, one day he brought so many scraps,
like several buckets worth, that we had one left over.
Yeah, you got to work your way through these fucking scraps. Chickens don't eat that much. So she was working her way through these buckets, and there was this one bucket that just stayed there for like a week.
No, it was a couple months. We forgot about it. It was in the back. Remember, we had that table, and the buckets were in the front, and there was one in the back that we completely missed, and we found it, and we were like, "Oh no."
The point is, this fucking bucket wasn't used for a while.
For a while.
I'm pretty sure it couldn't have been a month because those things wouldn't have been alive by then. But it was a lengthy time.
It was a long time. More than usual.
The point fucking is, let's get to the point here. The point is, this fucking bucket, because there were so many other buckets, was kind of left to its own devices.
Yeah.
And by its own devices, I mean, when we opened that bitch up to use it, potentially, and or discover what was in there, it was no longer food.
No.
It was literally to the level where the food was, but it was just fucking maggots. Just a bucket of maggots. White, twisting, writhing maggots.
We poured it out after we discovered this and was disgusted. We poured it out, and the bottom half were maggots, but they had been there so long or had eaten each other to a point where it was just solid white, but there were maggots.
Yeah, it was
because we broke. It was solid white mass, shiny solid white mass, and and then you break it in half, and there would be like maggot carcasses in the middle. It's like, oh no, what is this? This is horrid.
Anyway, unbeknownst to you, she fed you that later.
She did. It was delicious.
And you loved it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know what the fuck this video was
So,
about, but apparently worms.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you have any worm stories, let us know. This has been Ahab and the Goontick, wondering what the fuck was this shit. Hit like, share, subscribe to those notification buttons, because we are out.
Movies, music, story times, all kinds of shit for you. Anything goes inside the night, don't look up a corpulent Jews. Movies, music, story times, all kinds of shit for you.